Do me a favor, bro. Hold this L.
Hold this L.
Hold this L.
Welcome to Hold This L with your host Lonnie and Cappel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How you doing, cuz?
Doing good, bro. Doing real good. Ready to dive into this show. We got a good show. We coming into week 10 of the NFL. Got NBA popping. You know, we starting to get a good feel for how teams are doing what they're doing in the NBA and rotations and stuff. So, man, it's an exciting show, man. I'm ready to dive into it. How about you? What's been going on?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. Before we dive into it, man, I saw Eternals, so we got to talk about it for a second.
Finally, it took you long
Okay,
enough.
spoiler alert. If you hadn't seen it, you might want to fast forward through this.
Yes.
Um, but I saw it and I loved it. Of course, I thought it was great because it's anything superhero, dealing with superheroes, I'm gonna love it. But if it's a bad written movie, I will still say it's bad written. And I don't think it was poorly written. I think it was very well written. It has a different feel. It doesn't have that Marvel feel, but it still is a good movie. And I think that's good because like it maybe that type of movie can bring in different fans, from a Marvel perspective. I don't know. And because for me, having that superhero background as far as like growing up with comics and stuff, a lot of the superheroes I'm familiar with, but as we start getting into like deeper into the characters, that's when I start to get lost because I'm not that fan that just knows everything. So
Right.
Shang-Chi was somebody I wasn't aware of. Was his movie was Marvel. It felt like Marvel. But the Eternals, it felt like a movie about people with super powers or whatever. And they just didn't have that same Marvel feel. But what I mean by that is that it wasn't good. It's just that I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just like Marvel movies. They feel like Marvel movies. Like if you didn't have the Marvel credits and all that stuff, and you just showed the movie, I'd be like, yeah, that's Marvel.
Right.
you
Right.
know. And Eternals was a little bit different. It didn't have that feel, but they had a different director, Chloe Zhao. I think it's her first time doing a Marvel movie, and she did a great job. The movie
Yeah.
it was really good. You know what I'm saying? But your thoughts on the movie because you ain't had a chance to say anything about it because you was waiting on me to see it. So, what's your official thoughts on the movie?
Bruh, I mean, I loved it. I like the fact I like the storyline. You know, Marvel always does tends to do a great job with the storylines. Even though it was her first time doing it, she still did a great job with the storyline. I love being able to watch movies to where I don't know what's gonna happen next. You know,
Yeah,
you think you know what's gonna happen next, and then it go completely left. It's gonna be this or it's gonna be that. You have ideas, but you still don't 100% know. I love movies like that where I can't predict what the ending is gonna be or what the outcome is gonna be. Um, but for me, to me, it was a typical origin story. And I
yeah,
think it felt less like a Marvel movie for us because we didn't get to see any cameos from any of the Marvel characters. Like even in Shang-Chi, you still got to see Wong. You know,
yeah,
they still integrated people that was in the movies, you know. So with the Eternals, it was nothing about the Avengers. It had nothing to do with the Avengers. We know Shang-Chi, he's gonna be one of the newer Avengers versus, these Eternals, they have nothing to do with them. They referenced the Avengers and stuff in the movie, but clearly, that had nothing to do with it. Like they wanted that movie to show that they're separated from the Avengers, or we don't interfere, we don't this, we don't that. They made it a point to make sure they made it to where they don't interfere, they don't mess with no one else. It's just them. And I think that was a lot of why you didn't get the feel of a Marvel movie because you didn't really see a lot of the Marvel characters that we're used to seeing. This was a
yeah,
true origin. Just there's always a cameo,
yeah,
and you and I both know from some Avenger or somebody. Well, in this movie, it was nothing but strictly Eternals. Period.
yeah.
It
And I
had
and I
nothing to
and I
do with
like
that.
that. I like that aspect of it too.
I
The
did
the
too.
the, the thing that I like personally, I'm a mythology fan, not just Greek mythology, but a lot of all mythology. African, Asian culture. So I like how they use Gilgamesh, and I liked how they used Athena, even though we are used to Athena, but it still had the same storyline. Icarus, kid Icarus in the Greek mythology flew to close to the sun. He lost his wings. I don't know if you caught that reference at the end when he flew into the sun to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Well, see, I
So,
didn't know about the lost his wings part. You know, the comic
so the
book is
start, so the
really more
story,
unique.
Greek mythology, the story is Kid Icarus. He wanted wings. I can't remember the exact storyline, but yeah, he wanted to fly, and he created some wings. Like he made some wings to be able to fly, or somebody made wings for him to be able to fly. And they told him, "Don't go too close to the sun. Don't go too close to the sun." And he went too close to the sun, and the sun burned his, wings, and he failed and died. So the reference of him going into the sun after when he killed
Right.
himself because of what
That
he
was
did, I
tight.
was like,
Well, that makes a
that.
lot
And
more
then
sense to me.
Gilgamesh, in Greek mythology, strong, super strong warrior, Athena, goddess of war, with military strategy. I liked all that, I loved all of that, so that just piqued my interest, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are mythology fans. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Back your
Go.
mic up a little bit, bro.
I'm still loud, man.
Yeah, it's
All
not
right.
really loud. Your loudness it's when you get a little excited, the static comes through.
Yeah, that's my microphone. I probably got to adjust it. I'll adjust for next time, but I'll move it over a little bit right here. So let's get to some sports, man. We still in football. We got week 11 coming. We have 18 weeks this year because we added
Yeah,
an extra week. So we
just
still
for the
got plenty
record,
of
that's
football.
that's perfect.
Okay, yeah, good. This part
That's
when I just leave it
perfect.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
perfect.
just think I was too close. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, we still got a lot of football left. And to headline this week's news, Odell Beckham Jr. to the Rams. Now, it's actually happened last week, but we didn't know where he was going to go.
Right.
We knew he was leaving the Browns, but we didn't know where he was going to go. There was a lot of news with him possibly going to the Packers. People said the Saints was on his list. I think Seattle was one of the names that people were talking about. Nobody really had him going to the Rams.
No.
And then when he signed with the Rams, that was like, oh my goodness, okay, Super Bowl favorites. Wow. But then Friday, we hear Robert Woods has a torn ACL. Now, a lot of people at first thought that, okay, well, that makes sense. He went there because now he's going to get playing time. No, he signed first. Robert Woods' torn ACL came Friday during practice. OBJ had already committed to the Rams. So this is very interesting, an interesting turn of events. So let's talk about OBJ to the Rams and what does that mean?
Well, for me, it means we're gonna see OBJ. Actually, I was gonna say we're gonna see OBJ from the Giants. No, we're gonna see a better OBJ than we saw with the Giants. Let me tell you something. He has the best quarterback now that he's ever played with, and a pretty doggone good one. It's not like, hey, yeah, we upgraded from Baker Mayfield and we went to this person. No, you went to Matt Stafford, a future Hall of Famer who clearly, if you've been watching football this year, he still got it all the arm strength, all the mobility. Matthew Stafford looks better now. And of course, the offense and Sean McVay got a lot to do with it. But nobody is looking at Matthew Stafford saying he lost a step or he's getting older. He don't have the same arm strength or blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's just as great or as good as he was 5, 7, 8 years ago. So, I mean, to give OBJ, it's the same thing of why we all knew OBJ wanted to go to somewhere where he could have a good quarterback. First and foremost, somebody could get him the ball. Well, I feel like because the Rams, like you said, weren't in contention, but they kind of were. They were just kind of in the background because everybody really thought he was going to go to Green Bay to play with Aaron Rodgers. But a la going to play with a great quarterback. That's really what he wants. And I just feel like going to the Rams, that does a lot for him now that Robert Woods, because I really was unsure about his role and the targets and if he maybe, how he was going to react to the targets he was getting and how they were going to share the targets between all those guys. It's a lot of, you talking about Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Cooper Cup, now OBJ. It's like it's just what, but with Robert Woods, I think that was like, it was a win-win for the Rams regardless. And I actually, in my personal opinion, think OBJ, they upgraded. He's a better receiver than Robert Woods. I mean, who would argue that if you just saw the OBJ? We're talking about them getting the OBJ that we know he can be, he's clearly better than Robert Woods. So, I feel like we're finna see the Odell Beckham that we expected to see him come out this year with Baker Mayfield. Because let's be honest, for one, and I ain't knocking Baker Mayfield because I know he's been playing with a torn labrum most of the year. But we all saw, or if you didn't see that video, the dude getting open.
And I'd knock Baker Mayfield because he fucking sucks. Excuse
But
my language.
but what I'm saying is he looked really good toward the end of last year, and he's basically been playing all year this year with a torn labrum. That's I'm giving for a quarterback to go out there and still play, even though it's not in his throwing shoulder. Or torn labrum ain't nothing to just scoff at. Like, psh, that ain't no big time. That's a major injury, for a quarterback.
It's a major injury. Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna say this: like, it's the biggest thing that could have happened, the best thing that could have happened for OBJ. And the reason why I say this is because let's just look at him as a player right now. He sees himself as a celebrity. He loved being in New York, even though Eli wasn't the best quarterback. Eli got him the ball, and he was a celebrity in New York. He was able to be, the face of the franchise. He was able to go out and do his thing, and people loved it because when you're in a big market like that, it's accepted. When you're in a small, he didn't want to go to Cleveland, but when you're in a small market like Cleveland, and then you try to do the things that you do when you're in a big market, people frown that. They look at you for that. They look at you negatively for that. Like, just play sports, just do this, just like the people, the identity that the people have in those cities, they kind of want that from players, even though that's not fair. But where is he now? He's in LA. You think for a second that OBJ and LeBron ain't have a conversation about him going to LA? LeBron's one of the first people that tweeted his congratulations to OBJ for being in LA. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wanted to be in a big market. I know people say Green Bay was on the forefront from the basketball perspective, but I'm starting to wonder if Green Bay was ever even an option. Because
it was an option because he wanted to play with him so bad, but he didn't want to play in Wisconsin.
That's what it is. And that's why I say that. Not Aaron because Rodgers, of the football aspect of it. OBJ knows, OBJ knows that he goes there and he could like be great with Aaron Rodgers, but he's looking at, I could be great with Matthew Stafford with the Rams and what they got with Sean McVay, and I'm in LA. But you know what I'm saying? That's more money. That's more commercials. That's more endorsements. He's going to get all of that, especially if he go out there and start killing it like he was with the Giants.
This the other thing. The only reason you going to Green Bay is for Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. And he leaving next year.
And exactly. The players, a lot of the players, hell, Aaron Rodgers ain't happy to be there right now. So why would you go somewhere where half the players are saying, I ain't gonna say half, that's probably over exaggerated, but the best players, the top players are saying, I'm not a, even Devontae Adams came out. That's what happens when you don't appreciate your players. So when you got the two best players on the team saying we don't feel appreciated, it's hard to get somebody like Odell Beckham to say, I want to come there.
And you're in an unstable environment, and you're considered an unstable player. Now, as an unstable player, even though you may not feel unstable, OBJ is a little bit unstable. I ain't gonna lie. He's been better this year, but in the past, you can kind of look at him and say, whatever. But he's going to
been better this year. He's just been smarter with the way he's doing it. He's getting his
that's why to me that's better. To me, that's better. That's what I mean by better. But he's going to a stable organization, an organization that's being well run, and an organization that's strong. So his personality won't affect that team as much or at all. So that's just a good place for him. Now that's outside of football. Football wise, Baker Mayfield sucks. I mean, like, he's a game manager, and he's not the best game manager. He's an okay game manager. Yes, he had a torn labrum, but it didn't stop him from getting the ball to Jarvis Landry 5 yards down the field, Austin Hooper 5 yards down the field, David Njoku 5 yards down the field. He hardly hits deep targets. And where's Odell Beckham most effective? Well, every goddamn where. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? He can do it all. But we watch the games. Those throws to Odell, they're terrible. It's not like Odell was dropping balls. People talk about, it just didn't click. It wasn't timing. I have never heard that excuse for any other quarterback. When they don't get the person the ball, it is either the running back, the wide receiver is not getting open, or the quarterback is not getting the ball to them. I've never heard oh, just Baker Mayfield is just better without OBJ. He don't have a skill set for a receiver like OBJ. That's what that is. He got the skill set for somebody who can go a 5 yard route and curl, or 5 and in, or 5 and out, or maybe a little bit further down the field, 10 yards out. He doesn't have that arm, and he doesn't have that accuracy. He never had it. So even when his shoulder wasn't torn, he still didn't have it. Does he get the ball down the field occasionally? Yes, not consistently. So, and then when you see the video that OBJ's dad posted with OBJ down the field, wide open on several occasions, that right there just highlights the issue. Baker Mayfield is not a good quarterback. Cleveland's not going anywhere with Baker Mayfield. He goes now. OBJ goes to now. He goes to the Lions. I mean, he goes to the Lions. He goes to the Rams. Matthew Stafford, who's very accurate, arm strength. He can throw every route. You can't double OBJ because Cooper Kupp is the man in on that team. You got a run game, a receiver that can catch out the backfield and run between the tackles. You got a good backup in Sony Michel. You got a good tight end. You got a good you got Van Jefferson. They got everything. They got a great defense.
How they just signed?
They
just signed on defense?
Von Miller, exactly. He ain't even start playing yet.
Yeah, right.
So OBJ made the best decision. And I mean, while it's not a good thing for Robert Woods, it's a good thing for OBJ that Robert Woods tore his ACL. Because now he's going to actually have the opportunity to shine in that offense. I don't think OBJ was going to shine in that offense with all those weapons. But now he's going to be the number 2 receiver. He is going to have every opportunity to do his thing. And at this point, if OBJ doesn't do it, we can look at OBJ and say, maybe you lost a step.
Bro,
but nobody believes that's going to happen. You can see him running those routes on the field in Cleveland, and you saw OBJ is fine. It's not him that's the problem.
Yeah, he's still Odell Beckham. I mean, clearly he can get open still easily. He got monster hands. We know how he is with his hands and stuff. Like I say, I think it was gonna be a great thing even if Robert Woods didn't get hurt, because I think it was the character. I think him going to play, bro. I don't think there would be a player on this planet that would say I don't want to go play for Sean McVay, except Jared Goff.
Definitely not if you're an offensive player.
Yeah, like except Jared Goff. Like I say, tell him all he felt more appreciated. Well, Detroit say, I see why Sean McVay said what he said about you now. We made a mistake. But neither here nor there, man. I just think it bodes well for OBJ and the Rams. I think it's gonna be a match made in heaven for the both of them, especially with the Robert Woods news.
And it works for Baker Mayfield too, because now people can get off his back and he can feel less pressure, because when he's not making the throws to all the other players on the team, nobody cares. When you're not making the throws to one of the best receivers in the league, everybody's watching. Make the throws to Jarvis Landry. As long as the Browns win, don't nobody care. So with that being said, does this make the Rams for real favorite to win the Super Bowl? Like hands down, no questions asked. The Rams should win the Super Bowl. Fire smoke.
Bruh, I'm gonna tell you something. I gotta say fire. And it's for one reason and one reason only. Right now, the only team, how I feel about my 49ers and stuff, but as a sports head, the only teams that I see that can compete with them, score with them, but not only, play some defense, but score with them also, is the Dallas Cowboys, and I feel like Tampa Bay. This is the catch. There's a reason they went out and they got I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I just said his name. From Broncos, Von Miller. There's a reason they went out and got Von Miller. They want more of a pass rush. How do you stop Tom Brady? Pass rush. You already got Aaron Donald. Don't they have Robert Quinn too? Or did Robert Quinn, am I getting it confused? It's somebody on
Sebastian Day Joseph is who they have.
I think Quinn went to the Bears.
Yeah. But Sebastian Day Joseph is a beast.
But they got a monster defensive line that can get pressure on you. They got 2 or 3 people on that D line now that you got to double team all 3 of them. And if you don't, they're going to beat one-on-one pressure pretty easily. Who does that combat? Tom Brady. So I think those moves were made strategical. What are the Buccaneers' weakest at? Secondary? Am I
Oh,
on
you wanted me to
defense?
answer that? Yeah,
Yeah,
secondary. I
secondary.
thought you was gonna say it.
So
Yeah.
so what? So who do you go and sign? OBJ. Like you can see the Rams making moves to beat the Bucks. Because truly, I mean, I said the Cowboys because I got to give the Cowboys love for the way they playing this year, even though they stunk it up last game. They did, but they're still playing well. You know, I give credit where credit's due. Do I think they're a Super Bowl contender team? Absolutely not. But I do believe in any given Sunday, and I do believe the Cowboys have the talent to go out and beat either of those teams on any given Sunday if they bring their A game. But do I think it's gonna happen? No. But
Yeah. I
but
hear you.
but really it comes down to I feel like it's Tampa Bay. It was Tampa Bay and everybody else. And the Rams made it to where no, it's us, Tampa Bay, and everybody else.
So I
And
think it's
so
fire.
I
I
do
think
too.
it's fire,
All the way.
but I think it's fire, but I don't think the moves were just made for Tampa Bay. I think the move was made more for Arizona than anybody, not Tampa Bay. Because Arizona to me is more of a threat than Tampa Bay when you look at how they're playing this year. Now, you always can draw back on Tom Brady's history, and you know that while they may not be the number one team, they're always going to be one of the number one teams when it come down to playoffs. So yeah, you definitely have to prepare for Tom Brady, any team he's on, and the Bucks definitely are there. But the teams that have the total package are the Rams and the Cardinals are right there in the division. Pass rush on Tom Brady is easy if you can get it. If you get the pass rush on Tom Brady, it's easier to stop him. It ain't easy to stop Kyler Murray.
Yeah. The
So you
only
got
reason I didn't mention
somebody,
the Cardinals, not to interrupt you, but
they
the
will
only
be
reason
back.
the injury. I know, but
They will be back.
I want to see what they look like when they come back, when DeAndre Hopkins 100% healthy and Kyler Murray,
If
with it being an ankle injury, how his running, how it affect his style. I need to see that. But I do agree with you. I agree
if
with
they
you
can keep
100%.
winning if they can keep winning while they're out, then they have no reason to rush them back. They won last week without Hopkins or Murray. Hopkins and Murray both looking questionable for this week. They're playing against Jacksonville, I think. No reason to bring them back if they play in Jacksonville. I think they're playing Jacksonville. Maybe not Jacksonville. I think they got an easy matchup this week. I could be wrong, but
I'll tell you in a
but
second. They
but
playing
even if it's
Panthers,
the
Carolina.
Panthers, that's not as easy. But it's not
It's still
a
pretty
hard
easy though.
matchup.
Yeah.
So no reason to rush them back. And if you bring them back 100%, then you right back where you started. We forget that they added pieces to their team too. Added Zach Ertz. They already have plenty of weapons. And you're talking about bringing Von Miller, and now you got Aaron Donald in the middle. You got Sebastian Day Joseph on the other side. Well, Aaron Donald's everywhere, not just in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're not just good pass rushers; they're fast.
Yeah.
That's going to be more effective on Kyler Murray. And while they haven't won anything, they're definitely a team that is scary. Then you think about Aaron Rodgers, who also you need a pass rush to get to him. He's more mobile as well. Like what they've added to their team on the offense and defensive side is really to me to combat those top teams in the NFC. And that includes not only Tampa Bay, but the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. There it is fire. They are clearly the favorites to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Of course, we got to see how this works with OBJ because everything's not always as it seems. You lose Robert Woods, who was clearly great in that offense. You had OBJ. You assume we assume that OBJ is going to be even better because he's more talented. But everything don't always work out the way you assume. So we got to see it first. But just the idea of OBJ being there and what we've known him to be in the past, it's easy to assume that they're going to be even more explosive. But we still got to see it. But yeah, it's definitely fire.
It's not the offense for me.
It's both for me.
It's the
The
defense.
the defense is not a question mark though.
Yeah, right. To me, the offense isn't either. Sean McVay is such
Well,
an
if Robert
offensive
Woods
genius.
wouldn't have got hurt, it would be no question mark. It would be we just got extra. With Robert Woods getting hurt,
but bro,
you have to see if OBJ and Van Jefferson are gonna step up to do what they need to. We assume OBJ is. If I had to put my money on it, I'm saying yeah, OBJ gonna step in and do what he got to do. But you still need to see it.
yeah, but I saw
You know,
I saw in a couple of games where they used Deshaun Jackson with Sean McVay, That dude's a genius. He's gonna
Yeah.
find a way to make Odell Beckham.
No, I agree. That's what's going to
Uh, uh,
happen. I'm just saying. I'm just saying we
it's
know what the defense is going to
yeah,
bring because
yeah.
they didn't lose anything. They
I just
just
feel like
added.
I
If
just feel like the
if
offense only going they still gonna kill it.
well, that's what I feel too. What I'm
Right.
saying is you have to still see it. Once you
Which
see it, it's reality. How much we believe it, it don't matter. Like the defense didn't lose anything; they just added greatness. Initially, the offense didn't lose anything; they just added greatness, but they lost a very talented receiver after they added OBJ. So now you got to see how everything is going to look without that receiver. You know, like you had the luxury of sitting OBJ Monday and still doing what you normally do. Well, now you don't really have that luxury because Robert Woods hurt. Now you want to play OBJ, instead of getting him up to speed. Now you got to kind of get him in there because you got Cooper Kupp who could get doubled, and then you got Van Jefferson who we don't know if he can handle the load as a number two. So that's what I mean. It's like now
yeah,
you
no, and I
gotta you
feel
gotta
you.
you know you
This
gotta
is
do
the
all that.
only
So
thing I'll say about that, and this is why I say I don't feel like it changed any. Robert Woods wasn't that
Robert Woods was
dynamic or involved in the offense as he usually is in most years.
he
He's
was a safety
actually
valve. No, he was a
yeah,
safety
he
valve.
was having a down year compared to the years before. So in my
No,
mind, they're
no,
only
no.
going to get better.
He wasn't. His numbers are comparable to what he was having before. Cooper Kupp's numbers have skyrocketed.
Yeah,
It looks like Robert Woods is not having the same year. Robert Woods is having the same year. Cooper Kupp is not. That's what it is. Robert Woods has like 500 receiving yards. He got about 50 something receptions. He's on pace for another 1,000-yard season, which last year he had like right over 1,000 yards. It's Cooper Kupp is leading the league in receiving yards
yeah,
and receptions. He is on pace to break records. That's what it's an illusion, is what it is.
right, right.
Yeah, but Robert Woods is still doing as good as he was last year. It's just Cooper Kupp and just fucking murdering it. So another big deal. I mean, not a big deal, but another in news, Cam Newton is signed with the Carolina Panthers. Nobody saw that coming. I didn't see it coming. I thought it was going to go with PJ Walker. But is this a big
Everybody
deal?
did.
Fire or smoke? Is this a big deal for the Panthers? Is it a big deal for the NFL? Is it a big deal for the NFC South? What's your thoughts?
I don't think it's a big deal for anybody. To be completely honest with you, what I do think is that what everybody's saying about the reason they brought him back, I don't think that's correct. I think it's completely. I think it's smoke. Um, that people think he just coming in. They signed him to come back in and sell tickets. I don't see it. I really believe in the next week or two, maybe even 3 weeks, Cam Newton will be starting. Cam Newton's going to take over that team. And it's just some of the comments I've been hearing from him. Like he was saying when DJ Moore was here, I used to call him Simba. He said, I can't call him Mufasa now. Yeah, he said, I can't call him Mufasa. He said, because that's me. So in his mind, he's coming back to take over this team and lead this team. And I don't think they signed him with the keep in mind if you read or did your research, he turned down a couple other teams. Seattle, because he knew he wasn't going to start, but maybe a week or two until Russell Wilson came back. Not a bad place to go. And it was another team that he turned down also. I can't remember exactly who that was. But to go back to the Panthers, I don't think Cam Newton goes back without the belief that he's going to start.
So
So for me, I think it's a little bit of fire and smoke. I think it's fire for the Carolina Panthers. I think it's going to make them a better team, but I think it's completely smoke if you think he just went there to sell tickets and that's the reason the Carolina Panthers signed him. I really think they feel like he still got a lot left in the tank and they probably shouldn't have got rid of him after the surgery.
I think this is fire. And the reason why I think it is fire, it is a big deal. And I'm looking at it from the aspect of the Carolina Panthers organization. You don't bring back a Cam Newton. You don't bring back the type of player like Cam Newton if your quarterback is your future.
Mm-hmm.
You ride with your backup. Look at the Saints. Jameis Winston is somebody who they're hoping can be the future quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. He goes out. They didn't go sign Cam Newton. They announced immediately Trevor Simeon's our starter. Yeah, they have Taysom Hill. Trevor Simeon's our starter. That's our backup. That's how organizations work when they trust in the signal caller. Drew Brees went out. They didn't go look for the next best quarterback on the market. We hired this person as our backup for a reason. We believe this person can get us to where we need to go until our quarterback can come back. PJ Walker is your backup. You lose Sam Darnold. Maybe for the year, you don't know yet, but you don't give PJ Walker the opportunity to really take over that team. You go bring in Cam Newton. To me, that's because you don't believe in Sam Darnold. You bring Cam Newton back to see what he got, because you can't afford to go get you another quarterback in the draft. You feel like you got the pieces to go where you need to go now. You got a good offense. You got good receivers. You got all-world running back. You got a good backup running back. You have a good defense, which is evident on how they play now. Even when they're losing, they're still playing pretty good defense. You're missing a quarterback. Cam Newton's out there. He is the face of this franchise for from its existence. He's who you think of when you think Carolina Panthers. He's out there. Let's see what he got. This is fire for Sam Darnold for the Carolina Panthers. This is a test for Cam Newton to see what he got. And if Cam Newton go out there and shine, Sam Darnold, I feel sorry for your career, because this was your time to show that you were that first round pick that deserved to go where you went, to the Jets, and that they failed. And I was on record saying that I think Sam Darnold is a quality quarterback. Well, I'm having to fall back on that one now.
Well, I wouldn't,
because he ain't looking too great.
He ain't looking great, but
I ain't saying he done. I'm not saying he done. I'm just saying he ain't looking too great.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He don't. But when you ain't had Christian McCaffrey all year, it tends to not make you look too great. You know, when you don't have one of the best running backs in the league, you're gonna look a little worse than what you should look if you had him.
I agree with that, but I also think from the perspective of a coach, is like you still got good receivers that get open. You're not getting them the ball. Right. You know, you brought in Chuba Hubbard, who's not a terrible running back. Like, it's not like you lost your running game. He's a quality backup. You know what I'm saying? No, he's a quality backup. Like, he's a quality backup. Like, when you watch him run the ball, he runs the ball well. They don't use him the way they try to use Christian McCaffrey, because he's not Christian McCaffrey. So, like, I'm not comparing him to Christian McCaffrey. I'm comparing him to just being a running back. And as a first-year rookie running back, he's not bad. But you still have weapons. See, that's the thing. Is like, when you lose a weapon and you got other weapons, you lean on those weapons to continue to do well. And he's not leaning on those weapons. Like, DJ Moore was killing it with Christian McCaffrey. That made it easier for Sam Darnold. But you should still be able to get the ball to your receivers. If you can't, that's a quarterback problem. So, yeah, and I think from a coaching perspective, I think that's what they see. It's like you dropped off so far from where you were when Christian McCaffrey left. Then this is like you're depending on Christian McCaffrey too much. Right. When you see other good organizations, other good quarterbacks, when they're top player, we talked about Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. We clearly saw his value when he was hurt, but Aaron Rodgers made it work. The game plan changed. They start focusing on another superstar, and it worked. Darnold is not getting the ball to his top people. He's not. It's not like DJ Moore not getting open. Robbie Anderson, it ain't like he ain't getting open. He been struggling trying to get the ball to Robbie Anderson all year. Right. You know, so I feel like it's more about Sam Darnold than it is anything else.
Yeah, see, I agree with you 100%. See, I think it's fire on the side that Cam Newton's going to come in and ball. I do. I think it's smoke to think that they just signed him thinking he gonna come just sell tickets and it's Cam Newton and he just gonna come in and he's the face of the franchise. I agree with that. Get fans in the stands. That's the smoke part about it. For everybody saying that this is basically a ticket selling ploy, a money making.
Well, I think it's smoke. I think it's smoke that people believe that, but that shit gonna happen. It's gonna happen. People gonna come see Cam Newton, but that's not why they signed him though. Exactly. Because like Carolina is not a type of franchise where they have to do gimmicky things to get people in the seats to succeed in selling tickets. They're a small market. The small market teams are going to be supported because that's how small market fans are. You got to do stuff like that in New York, in LA, in Miami. If your team not winning, that's when you see teams make splashes to try to sell tickets because they're appealing to the big market fans because they don't just care about winning football games. They like the show, they like superstars, they like that, the environment. Small market teams, Cleveland Browns been trash for years, and they will have fans coming to see them every year to get their ass whooped. You know, so but yeah. And in other news, Julio Jones, like, listen, I'm so tired of seeing that questionable tag on Julio Jones' name. I'm thinking this man then came to Tennessee. He ain't gonna do the same thing he did with the Falcons. Thinking that maybe when he's with the Falcons, this was more about I ain't got no motivation to win, so I'm not gonna put myself in harm's way. I'm gonna make sure I get healed up. And he with Tennessee, a team that's killing it right now. I know they lost Derrick Henry, but this is the time where they need Julio. So for him to be out, he must really be injured. Is it fire or smoke? Is Julio Jones done? Because I think it's fire. I think he's done. And I don't mean done like he's finna retire, but the Julio Jones that we knew.
Well, I'm starting to think he's done. He's shown flashes, but I'm gonna go fire with this one. And the reason I say that, he ain't just hurt, he on IR.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he hurt. Like, they felt like, no, he's hurt to the point where he need to sit down for 3 weeks minimum. So with that being said, bro, he's been hurt most of the year. Thank God I unloaded him on my fantasy thing. Shout out to Maurice. Appreciate you, bro. But no, man. I mean, it seems to happen. And me and you even talked about this at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, I think we'll see a different Julio Jones. Reason I drafted him, obviously, and we talked about him, was high on him, was because we were like, when you don't have a lot to play for, ain't motivated and going nowhere, when you have an ankle injury, you just not going to push through it when there's no motivation to push through it. But, you know, going to Tennessee, it was like, bruh, I think he probably gets these little nicks and stuff, but he's going to play through them. No, This dude is getting hurt at an alarming rate. He's been hurt all year. I think he's played like 2 or 3 games.
Maybe a couple more than that, but yeah.
You're not even the number one, but I mean, play where like not.
He hasn't been. He was only been effective like 2 games.
Yeah, no, but when I say played, I mean like played, didn't have a questionable tag, and didn't play.
Oh well, you're right about that.
50% of the
snaps. Yeah, okay.
You know, like you coming in, you playing, but you ain't on the field half the time. It's like, where Julio Jones at? You know, he's not even on the field.
Agree with you though.
So I mean, I'm thinking, and for somebody who AJ Brown, you're not even a number one no more. No double teams, no nothing. You expected him to have a great year, and it's like, bruh, I got to give up on Julio Jones. I had the faith in him, but for me, it's straight fire. He done. I don't have no faith in Julio Jones.
I can't add nothing to what you said. I'm 100% on board with every word you just uttered. He done. Like, even if he play another 2 more years, he's just a number 2 or 3 receiver. He is not a number 1. It's just not. He can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. And that right there is you can't be considered great when you can't be on the field, even though you may still have great talent. If you made this man 100% healthy right now, I would say he still has number 1 talent.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't stay healthy. That's part of it. Your age, that just factors into your injuries. So as you always had injuries, but you would play through them. But now you're older. You can't play through the injuries no more. That makes you a liability. So yeah, that is fire. Julio Jones is done. All right, man. Let's go ahead and talk about our fantasy picks for the week. For week 11, just to get you some good ideas on players that you could play in daily fantasy, or maybe if you have them on your own fantasy team. We're getting close to those playoffs. People crunching. It's crunch time right now. You're trying to make sure you play the right people. So for me, I think the way we do this is we give we give 2 picks that we think are quality picks, specifically talking about daily fantasy that we think are going to be real good picks for the week coming up. And this is week 11. The 2 quarterbacks that I really like. The first one, I'm going to say Tua Tagovailoa. I love Tua against the Jets. Tua, when he plays teams that don't play well, he plays great. When he plays teams that play well, he doesn't always play great. I'm not going to say he does play, but plays bad. He's like, if he plays a team that's not great, he plays great. If he plays a team that's good or great, he manages. It's like his the way he plays changes. And against the Jets, I can see him throwing for over 300, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Love Tua Tagovailoa. And I like Tannehill against the Texans. He's going to have to throw the ball more. They don't have that rushing attack that they normally had. Tannehill is going to be getting that ball to A.J. Brown, some of those other receivers. Probably be throwing the ball to McNichols out the backfield more. I know they got Peterson, but I can't see Peterson being a workhorse, even though I would love him to be because I picked him up on my fantasy team. But I just don't see that being the case. So I see Tannehill throwing the ball a lot, and against the Texans, I can see him like really carving them up. Who do you like?
Well, one of my favorites on that slate is going to be Dak Prescott against the Chiefs. I love that matchup. We all know about the Chiefs defense, and they're just freaking horrible. And Dak Prescott, I feel like he gonna have a great game against them. I'm gonna tell you the other team I like. He just always tends to kill it. He's gonna be priced up, but he always seems to kill it most of the time against division rivals, and that's gonna be Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray back on the field against the Seahawks, I could see an absolute monster game out of him that week, because the Seahawks defense, y'all, they're not what they used to be. They're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They're the Boom of Legions. Yes, I just made that up. So just so y'all know, those are my 2 quarterbacks for week 11.
I thought you was gonna say they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They're the Legion of Bums. That's where I thought you was gonna go.
No, that shows you it was right. It's right off the top of my head. No,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good though.
No, it was good. I just thought that's where you was gonna go, Legion of Bums. But running backs. So running backs, I love Ezekiel Elliott against the Chiefs. The Chiefs can't stop nothing. They can't stop running backs. They can't stop wide receivers. They can't stop tight ends. I love Ezekiel Elliott against the Cowboys. Against the Chiefs. Week 11, and Joe Mixon against the Raiders. He's starting to be. He started off being super involved in the offense, and then he slowed down a little bit. Not bad. He didn't fall off, but they felt like they fell in love with Jamar Chase. And Burrows was throwing the ball a lot more. But these last couple of weeks, Mixon has been more of a part of the offense from a running and pass catching perspective. And I love this Raiders matchup. The Bengals are on bye. They're going to have a week to rest up. I see Mixon with a 20 carry game, maybe 3 or 4 catches out the backfield, touchdown or 2. I think it's a big game for Mixon. So Ezekiel Elliott and Joe Mixon for me. And coincidentally, those are my 2 running backs for my fantasy team. Maybe it's a little biased there, but they are good picks. You can't argue that.
No, well, I'm gonna switch it up with two different picks, because I did look Ezekiel Elliott. I did like him as one, but I'm gonna try to give y'all a little bit more. Somebody I like very much coming into it is Eli Mitchell against the Jaguars. I think he's gonna have a good matchup. He's the workhorse. He's the guy. And he runs well and he runs hard. I love him against them. My other one is if Nick Chubb against the Detroit Lions, or Dearness Johnson. Take your pick, whichever one of them is playing. If Nick Chubb is back, whatever running back against the Lions, I love him in week 11. So either Nick Chubb or Dearness Johnson.
Nick Chubb is on IR.
I thought
he got an IR tag.
I thought it was COVID.
I thought I saw an IR tag for Nick Chubb. Let me get back to you on that, but go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, but that's it for me. As far as that, I'll look up the Nick Chubb if you want me to while you're checking out while you're doing your wide receivers. But I'll just segue into my wide receivers while you're looking for the Nick Chubb thing. But I'll reiterate that it's Nick Chubb or Dearness Johnson, and also Eli Mitchell is going to be my running backs. Now my wide receivers for week 11, for me, I'm real big on just looking at everything. And it's kind of what you said about Tua Tagovailoa. I'm big on Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle against the Jets is going to be a great matchup. And I'm going to tell you the other one, because I don't feel like they can guard anybody. I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like he's almost a lock probably for the rest of the year, and that's Devontae Adams. I love Devontae Adams against the Vikings. And I love I love dang, why am I losing my train of thought? My boy Jalen Waddle. I love my boy Jalen Waddle against the Jets. I think that's gonna be awesome. 2 awesome picks.
I was mistaken. You're correct. It's a COVID thing. Nick Chubb is not on IR. But Waddle, that's what I was gonna go with. I love Waddle. Waddle gets peppered with targets, from Tua, and even when Jacoby Brissett's out there and against the Jets defense that's pretty not really strong, I can see him getting 10 or more targets, to be honest with you.
If you're in a full
You know,
point PPR, Jalen Wilder was almost a must play because he gonna get the targets. He
yeah.
gonna have 5 or 6 catches. It might be for 70 yards or 50 or 60 yards, like I think happened this week. 4 catches for 60 yards, but he gonna usually get you double digits just because of the targets he's getting.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And for me, it is AJ Brown. I like Tannehill, and Tannehill loves throwing about AJ Brown. And if I'm right on the Tannehill, if I'm right that Tannehill has a big game against the Texans,
It's gonna
nine
be
times out of
AJ
10, it's
Brown.
gonna be AJ Brown that's the recipient of those
Right.
yards that Tannehill's getting. So I like AJ Brown against the Texans. The tight ends, is always it only a handful of tight ends, but if I have to go with one this particular week, I like I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Zach Ertz. And the reason why I like Zach Ertz is because Kyler Murray is coming back. He's been out a couple of games. They still have to get Zach Ertz acclimated because he only played one game with Kyler Murray. They're going against a weak Seahawks secondary, like you say, the Boom Legions. They're not really playing well. They haven't played well all year. They just don't have the capacity to play well. They don't have the personnel. And I like Zach Ertz for about 60 yards, maybe 4 or 5 catches and a touchdown.
Well, I'm gonna give you my sleeper tight end. I think a lot of y'all probably hadn't heard of him, but if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, the dude's getting targets and he's playing well against the Chargers, and he's probably still underpriced. Pat Fryermuth. I think I'm
Mhm.
saying that last name right. But the dude is balling, y'all. So for if you're looking for a good tight end matchup, the Chargers, I think, look, keep in mind the Chargers are really good in their secondary, but it's their corners that are good. So you're probably gonna see Pat Fryermuth get targeted a lot more than you would probably see in most matches. He's already getting a lot of targets and scored, I think, in multiple weeks as far as touchdowns go. Ben Roethlisberger is looking for the dude, and playing against the Chargers, I think he's gonna have to look for him even more because the receivers gonna be locked up with Derwin James and the rest of that secondary. So I think he's gonna be a big play come next week.
We'll throw this caveat out there that's if Ben is going to be playing. He actually is out today because he landed on the COVID list. So I don't
He
know if
should be
he's going to
back
be
next
able to be
week.
back by the next week. But if he's back, I agree with everything you said. If he's not back, I would scratch all that.
I
I
still
don't
wouldn't
have
care.
I don't have
Just
no
because I think
trust.
Kyle Rudolph and them are gonna still pepper him the ball. I think that gives him even
Kyle
more targets.
Rudolph.
Or
Oh, you mean
what's
Mason Rudolph?
yeah,
Is Mason
my
Rudolph still there? Because they got Joshua Dobbs there, they got
yeah, they
Haskins there.
got
Like,
Josh,
is
yeah,
Mason
they got
Rudolph
Haskins.
there still there?
He's still there.
I mean, if you trust that, then yeah. And but also that's a 720 game. That won't even be in the DFS. But if you play Showdown or if you play what you call it, whatever they call it on
Yeah, I know what
FanDuel,
you're talking about. But
you
even
know,
with that being said, to be honest with you, I'll give you another one. It's something that I think is gonna happen. And this is a little biased. I'll go ahead and tell y'all now, but I do think over the rest of this season, we're gonna see a different George Kittle.
I agree with that. And that's a good
So
matchup against the
I like
Jaguars.
George Kittle against the Jaguars, and I think he wasn't 100%. I think that's why they ended up putting him on IR. He just didn't look like George Kittle. He's still blocking and stuff, but he wasn't the George Kittle that we're normally used to seeing. And he's a tough guy, so I think he was playing through injury, and I only assume that because they ended up putting him on the IR for 3 weeks. Well, you
Yeah.
got a fully healthy, been rested up 3 weeks, George Kittle coming back. And let's be honest, I mean, we're not out of the wild card hunt to say we can't make the playoffs. So I think we're going to see a different George Kittle because there'll be a lot more attention focused on Debo Samuel in these coming weeks and ended up toward the rest of the season. So I expect to see a lot more George Kittle. So that's a great play. And he'll probably be priced down a little bit coming off of IR than what he usually is. So I would keep an eye on that unless he has a great monster week this week.
That makes sense. All right, so it's the end of our show, but before we go, we gotta hand out some L's. So who you got holding the L for this week? Cause
Um, and this has nothing. It's kind of sports related for me because LeBron came out and made the comments. But I'm gonna be the first one to say Kyle Rittenhouse, this dude, and I have to LeBron. I got to requote you. He was like, "Man, come on, man. Man, ain't even no tears coming out. Say that boy ate a bunch of lemon heads before he got on the stand. Like to me, that was absolutely hilarious. And to anybody who don't think that's hilarious, this dude is on trial for murdering people. I need y'all to understand, he is on trial and he's crying crocodile tears. They're not even tears. It's literally like a kid that tries to sell you on the fact that they want a piece of candy and you don't give it to them, so they fake cry to make you think it. When you look at them and be like, I know you ain't crying, ain't even got no tears coming out your eyes, you just screaming at this point. Well, that's kind of what Kyle Rittenhouse was doing. So, bro, you get this L. Go on, you finna take a L, but you going in court with them fake tears just made it worse. You got an L from us, everybody else, on top of the L you finna get from that jury. I would give you the L and put you behind bars just for that. So with that being said, you definitely get the L, and so do you, Michael Rappaport. I ain't forget about you. I'm never gonna forget about you. So don't think it's gonna happen. You are on the L list forever.
Yeah. I don't have one this week, man. It's been a slow week. That one you gave is good. I like how you kind of twisted it. LeBron made the comment, but yeah, Rittenhouse deserves the L regardless, even though he is not a sports person. LeBron is, and I second those comments. But I don't really have an L, so we're gonna ride with that one for this week. Anything you want to say to people before we wrap it up?
The last thing I'll put in is, man, we appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you liking, subscribe, tune in to the channel. We need all the likes, all the tune-ins we can get. We're trying to build this platform, and we can only do it with y'all's help. So it'd be really appreciated if y'all like, tune in, subscribe. And for y'all who already are, we really appreciate you guys and hope you enjoy the show and hope we can keep giving you great content.
All right, well, that'll do it for today. This is Hold This L. This is your host. I'm Cappel.
And I'm Lonnie.
And we out. Deuces.
Peace.